Okay, so this is kind of an overview of what's to come for you guys in the near future. Go over the dates at the end of the presentation on what's going to occur. But basically what we're going and doing throughout the whole company is that we are upgrading everyone's office to either 2010 or 2013, depending on what you had at your location, and we're upgrading everyone to Office 365. So this is just kind of a quick overview of what does that really mean, what's the main takeaways that you need to know about, and any other kind of tips and tricks on this new version that might be helpful to you prior to getting moved and migrated over. So basically, let's go over what it is. Office Online is basically all those Office products that you're used to using. So Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, those honestly have not changed much. Even if you're on the 2010 version, which is quite old, the new version has all the same features that you're used to seeing. The only difference is those programs have actually more features now than what you probably had in some of your older versions. The main new feature is the sharing aspect of the new Office. So OneDrive is the new thing that kind of is like kind of the glue that holds all the Office products together in today's day and age. So it allows you to leverage sharing and auto-saving and all kinds of features of this new version that you couldn't do prior on the older versions of Office. It's cloud-based, so you can run the version of Office Online through a browser. That is something you're able to do. There is also a client, though, and at the distribution centers, I think all of you in this room right now are running the client, so you don't have to worry about being stuck using the online version. But the online version does work quite well. Right through Chrome, Edge, or Firefox, you can open up Word, view a document, edit it, and all that good stuff. One of the big differences, and if anyone in here is a manager, Office 365 Pro Plus, which, let me reiterate one thing real quick. So there's two things with this package, and it's a little confusing at first. So you have Office Online, which is all your apps through a web browser. And then you also have what the text slide is referring to as Office 365 Pro Plus. What that is the client software that's installed on your machine, your laptop or your desktop. So it's a little confusing at first until you start using it, then you'll understand the differences. But basically, one is through a web browser. You can use it on like any device basically in the world as long as you have internet. The other is installed on your company laptop or desktop and is used primarily when you're at work, if you will. So 365 is the latest version from Microsoft. So we're jumping from really old versions to the latest version. And it's completely replacing Office 2010 and 2013. One tidbit for anyone in here that might be a manager, there are different types of licensing depending on what you order. So this is important going forward in the future, in 2020 or 2021 after this project's done. If you have a new employee that's starting with the company and they need to use Office and they need to have the client version, the E3 license is what they need assigned to their account in order for them to sign into Office and license it. Because one big change that Microsoft made, and a lot of software vendors are making this change, is that in order to license their software, it's now a monthly subscription, and you have to actually sign in with your account. And I'm going to go over what you guys will have to do in order to sign in to license your version once you get migrated. And again, it's much like the old version of Office. 365 is designed to work locally on your PC. It's not through the cloud like the online version. But you get access to both with an E3 license. Now let me make sure I don't have any questions already here. Yeah, the layout itself is pretty much the same. And you'll kind of see, I'll show you what mine looks like. I am running 365 on mine, so I can show you what that looks like. If you're on the version of, if you're on 2013 already, there's almost no change other than the sharing buttons that are added. 2010, it's a little more different. They moved a lot of things around, so if you're on 2010 right now, I'm sorry. So it's going to be a little more of a shock to you, but if you're on 2013, it's going to look very similar. Okay, so some advantages of 365. The biggest change that Microsoft made was the sharing and collaboration piece. So what they're basically doing is all the Office products are leveraging a program in cloud storage called OneDrive. If you utilize OneDrive, you can utilize a lot of these new features. So the sharing is simply just a share button at the top right of all your products. So in Excel or PowerPoint, you can just share a PowerPoint instantly with someone. And the nice thing is they don't even have to be part of the company. If you have their email address, it'll share that document directly with them. That's not something we can do today, but now it's possible with this version of Office. You can also do co-authoring, which is a new feature where you can add people as an editor. So let's take, for example, a Word document. I could add myself and my coworker Matt to the document. I would be the one that's the owner of the document, but I can make him a co-author, which allows him to edit it, make changes to it, and I'll see those changes in real time. So if we're both in the document at the same time, I'll see his changes going on at the same time I'm making changes. And when you start using it, you'll see it assigns a color to each person, and you'll see where their cursor is at. It's kind of creepy at first when you start using it, but you get used to it pretty quick if you start leveraging that feature. Another new feature, well, it's not necessarily a new feature, but it works a lot better with the new version of Office, is autosave and syncing. So autosave always existed back in the old days with 2010 Office, but it was always like a local thing, and you had to enable it for it to work. Autosave in the new version of Office is automatic, but it's only automatic if you're using OneDrive. That's the big caveat. So autosave will be off by default if you're working on like a local file off your computer, but if that file resides in your OneDrive account, it will enable the autosave, and the autosave is very aggressive. So every time you make a single change, if you put a dot in, for example, or one letter, it automatically saves it instantly, so you don't have to worry anymore about losing data if your computer dies, or you accidentally closed something and you forgot to save it, and you don't have to worry about that because it's already auto-saving in the background. The syncing is another new thing, and you didn't have syncing prior. Basically, syncing is across devices. Excuse me. So if you have, for example, a company phone, an iPhone, you can install the OneDrive app on your company phone. You can then drag and drop files from your corporate laptop or desktop, and then those files will instantly show up on your OneDrive on your phone. Subsequently, you can also share documents with someone. So, for example, if I share a document with you, and you have OneDrive on your phone or tablet or what have you, your laptop even, you will see the shared documents I'm sending you right on the go. And that's really nice for people that travel a lot. We're already getting a lot of people at HQ that are using the OneDrive app on their phone. It's very handy for them because if they have an assistant or a coworker that's back at HQ and they need a quick document, they just share it with them with a couple clicks at the HQ office, and then all of a sudden they have all the data they needed on the go. New features and updates are automatic. So unlike our old version of Office where you kind of had to kick them off manually, they're automatic now in this new version of Office. So any new feature upgrades, capabilities, and security patches, all automatic. First time you use Office, you might see a What's New box that pops up. That box basically is Microsoft's way of showing you the new features they're adding to Office. It's pretty cool now because back when this version of Office first came out, the What's New boxes weren't that helpful. Now they're really helpful because they actually embed like videos inside, so they'll show you the new features they're working on. And there's also a blog, if you care a lot, there's a blog that you can go to on Microsoft.com that will show you all the things that they're developing in this new version of Office. But all those upgrades we're getting with this subscription now, since it's a monthly product, all those upgrades come to us automatically. And so we never have to worry about being out of date again after this project's over. It's easily accessible. Again, any computer with internet access, you can get to this version of Office, you can get to your OneDrive. There's no VPN required, so you don't need a VPN in order to use this version of Office since we're using Microsoft account. It's there automatically for you as long as you remember the web page, which I'll get into here shortly. And then I just put in quick editing real quick because it's very fast for you to pull up a document with the online version, make a quick edit to it, let it auto-save, and then you're back in business. So any typos or something you can fix relatively fast. Right, let me make sure there's no more questions here. Nope. Okay, keep going here. So there's a couple challenges that we've run into, not necessarily here, but it might still happen on the outside, we're not sure. So document compatibility, anytime we upgrade a version of Office, there's always a fear of possible documents not being compatible any longer. I will tell you though, we have converted the entire HQ Office. Out of all the people that we have here, we have about 600 people here. One person had problems with macros out of 600 people. So that was a pretty good track record, I thought. And then document formatting was a little more common of an issue, but it's easily fixed. What we mean by document formatting is, for example, someone had an Excel document. It had a header on it with a certain color. It was supposed to be green. In the ticket I got, it showed up as yellow. It was like this ugly yellow color. All you had to do was you had to go up there and change the color back. So it wasn't a big deal. So some really old documents you're working with, some of the colors might change on you, something like that, but it's easily fixed by just changing the colors back in that document. A little more of an issue that we had here was Office add-ins. The two primary ones that were issues were Spreadsheet Server and Lawson add-ins. Those two applications will need reinstalled, so if any of you on the call have Spreadsheet Server or Lawson add-ins at your location, and you'll know if you have them, so it shouldn't be a big question mark. You know if you use these. So if you do have these, please reach out to us after the deployment, and we'll most definitely get with you and get those reinstalled. All the other add-ins, like WebEx is a good example, Adobe Acrobat, those all reattach themselves automatically with this new version of Office. So you don't have to worry about re-adding those. But Spreadsheet Server and Lawson, those two were having issues here, so we had to reinstall a lot of those applications before they showed up in Office. But they are compatible. It's just, it needs that reinstall. One big thing that Microsoft changed is OneNote. OneNote is, they made the decision back in 2016 to remove OneNote as an application from Microsoft Office. Basically what that means for us today is that OneNote is still available to use, but you have to go out to the Microsoft Store on Windows 10 or Windows 8 and download the OneNote app. They turned it into a little free app. It's still usable. A lot of people here are using it now. But I will tell you, it's a little painful to convert. If you're using OneNote today on the old version, it's a little painful to convert you over. So if anyone is doing that, definitely get with us, get a ticket in, and we'll definitely get with you one-on-one and help you move your OneNotes over. If you want to start using OneNote, and you haven't yet, you definitely can do that. Just go out and download the app and you can start using it today. It integrates with OneDrive. But it's no longer part of the install suite of products that Microsoft recommends. And then if you're on Windows 7 still, for whatever reason, OneNote Online is an option. If you go to office.com, OneNote, you will see it out there, so you can use the web version, which is another alternative to the old client OneNote. Anyone with a corporate phone, this is important for you on the next one, the MOS 360 is changing into Microsoft Intune. If you don't know what MOS 360 was, it was the system we used to manage our corporate cell phones. It allowed IT to wipe your phone remotely or remove corporate email from your phone. The wiping of the phone we'd only do, obviously, if the phone was lost or stolen. And then the wiping of email, we had a lot of people that sometimes take their phone with them when they leave the company. This allows us to just wipe our corporate email from the device. Intune does the exact same thing. So Intune's just Microsoft's product. We purchased it with Office 365, so we had no reason to stay with IBM's product, which was MOS 360. So we're moving to Intune. So anyone with a corporate phone, basically, on the day of your migration, do not panic. It's normal for your corporate phone, if you have one, to get the email removed from it. And then Intune will need reinstalled. The communications that are going out during our project, though, will explain to you exactly all the steps you have to do in order to reinstall Intune on your corporate phone. So there's a bunch of pictures in it, step-by-step guide. Obviously, again, if you have any issues or run into problems and can't figure it out, please reach out to IT during the deployment week, and we'll most definitely get with you and get that resolved for you. And then one really bad thing that there's no fix for right now, and I don't know if even Microsoft's working on it, the Office Online version. So, for example, if you open Excel through a web browser instead of using the client version, macros do not work. You can't run macros through the online Office because it's Office basically in a web browser. Macro support's not there. Obviously, with the client version that's installed on your system, macros still work just like they always have. There's no issues there. It's just there's no macro support in Office Online. Pause for a second, see if there's any other questions. Doesn't look like it, so I'm going to keep going. Definitely say anything in the chat if you have any questions, or speak up on the phone if you have a microphone. All right, so what's included in Office 365? I kind of touched on this a little bit, but these are all the products that you're going to get access to. Another change Microsoft made, which in my opinion is a very positive change. Historically, Office 2010 and 2013 had two different editions. You had the standard edition and you had the professional edition. With Office 365, pretty much everyone in the corporation is getting Office Pro Plus. So what does that mean to you? That basically means everyone's getting access to Microsoft Access. That does not mean you have to use Microsoft Access. I had a couple people get worried when I said that sentence, and it just means that you have access to it now if you ever need to use it in the future. But by no means are you being forced to use Microsoft Access. If you don't use it today, you're probably not going to start using it tomorrow. Some of the other applications you get are all the standard ones you're used to seeing outside of OneDrive. That's the only other new one that you're getting access to. So Outlook, OneDrive, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Access, and Publisher are all there. Some of the IT services we got, which is more of a IT type thing, but I listed them just to full disclosure. Exchange, which is why your boxes are being migrated. Exchange is being offshore to Microsoft now on their servers. OneDrive is cloud storage for you, which is pretty similar to your P drive today if you have one, or a network drive. But it's your own personal storage space. So when we say OneDrive, we're talking about your account and your storage space. SharePoint sites, if any of you use SharePoint sites, we're working on getting all the SharePoint sites upgraded to the newest version. There is a 365 version of SharePoint now, so we're working to get all those upgraded because it integrates a lot better with this version of Office. And you can leverage a lot of the cool features basically of the new SharePoint site in conjunction with 365 Office. And then of course back to the phones again, Intune is also part of the product suite. Okay, so Office Online, how do you access it? If there's one takeaway that you need to take from this training, this is the one thing to basically write down and remember. We got a lot of people that forgot or weren't listening, and they ask, how do I log in? It's very simple. So if you write down just office.com, that's the website. So it's always office.com. If you do go there, you'll see a screen that looks similar to the screenshot I have here. Sometimes Microsoft changes the picture on me, but when I took this screenshot, that's what the picture looked like. Basically, you go to office.com, click on sign in. Pretty simple. But the most important thing to take away from the training here today is what your username is. So everyone's format of your username is the exact same. There is no guesswork. Some systems we have here, it's like first dot last name. Some systems it's your username at lazyboy.com. This particular software with this version of Office, everyone's the same format. So it's always going to be your username at lazyboy.com. It's never your first dot last name. We've had a lot of people try to sign in with first dot last name. It'll never work. It's always username at lazyboy.com. Whatever your username is. Obviously, the first time you sign in, so if you're on a computer that's not your company computer, you're on your like home PC, for example, or somewhere else, it may ask you that middle screenshot here where it says work or school account. Definitely select work and school account, and then it's going to ask you for your network password. Your network password obviously is whatever your latest network password is. And you'll see a little La-Z-Boy logo there too, just to confirm that you're on the correct screen, basically. If it doesn't say La-Z-Boy, it means something might have went wrong or your email address is incorrect. When you do go out there, eventually, this is kind of what the dashboard looks like for the Office Online version. Again, this is all through a web browser on this part of the Office suite. So across the top bar, you'll have all your products that you're going to use the most. So Outlook, OneDrive, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote. Those are the main ones you're going to use. The dashboard has a couple cool things on it. Anything that basically that you've been working on a lot, like in the last week, for example, will show up in the little recommended section. And then it tries to sort all your data so that you can quickly access it. So it tries to be smart with what it's displaying you. There's a couple tabs that you have: recommended, recent, pinned, and shared with me. The recommended one is, again, it seems like it always pulls up the documents like I'm working in the most, for example, and it shows them in recommended. Recent, obviously, is the documents you most recently opened, but not necessarily worked in the most. And then pinned, you have the option of pinning a document out on the online version. So, for example, if you, launch an Excel document every single morning, you could pin it, and it'll always be there. It's almost like a shortcut to that document, so you don't have to keep searching for it every time you go out here. And then finally, shared with me is just simply a document someone else shared with you will appear in the shared with me section. So there's a couple Outlook settings, and I'm doing a recording right now, so hopefully we can distribute that to you, because I don't anticipate you to remember all these settings, so I'm going to go over them anyway just to give you a heads up. So when your version of Office, when the day comes when we're do the migration, and then the next week we're going to do the deployment of the new Office to you, when you come into work that day after the deployment, your Office is going to be gone and you're going to have a new version installed on your system. The first time you sign into Outlook, so you launch Outlook for the first time, it's going to come up like this, like I have here. You simply just put in your username at lazyboy.com, click on connect. It'll prompt you for your password. Again, just put in your network password. We do recommend saying remember my credentials because it's going to ask you every single time you launch Outlook if you don't save them. Just be mindful if you do save it that after 90 days and your password expires, you do have to actively update your password after the fact. So do be aware of that. And there's a couple settings that we do recommend. I know this slide is kind of crazy with all the arrows, but it's actually every arrow is something you have to click on. So it is definitely required to set cache exchange mode on now. Previously, we always set it to disable. This is a Microsoft recommendation, and I will tell you right now that a lot of people here did not set this in the HQ office, and they started having Outlook problems. They were complaining about slowness, or it was crashing all the time. And then when we investigated, we found out they weren't setting the cache exchange mode to the correct setting. So once you get into Office, and unfortunately there's not a way for us to automate this for you. I wish there was. But if you go into account settings, check on cache exchange mode, and the most important piece is they recommend 3 months. Please do not set it to all. It's what is causing a lot of issues that people are seeing today in the Office here. So 3 months is the recommended by Microsoft, and you just click next and you're all set. And there's one other setting in Outlook that, frankly, I'm going to be honest, 98% of people hate. It's on by default. It's called Show Focus Inbox. Basically, what it's supposed to do is it puts your email into two buckets, focus and other. Focus is what it thinks are important emails to you. Other is all the things it thinks might be spam or something that you could review later, and it kind of sorts your email that way. Historically, though, at La-Z-Boy, everyone seems to like having this turned off. So when you go into Office for the first time, this might be on. So if you see Focus or Other where my arrow is there, if you click on the View tab, you can just uncheck that big button there that says Show Focus Inbox. It will then revert your Office back to sorting by date and time. And it will show all your email in one view, just like the old version of Outlook. A lot of people don't like this new view. I don't know why Microsoft is choosing to introduce it. I wish it was just off by default, but it's not, unfortunately, so it is something you do have to click. I got a question here. Give me 1 second. Can you send a copy of the cache settings? Yes, I can do that. What's your last name, Ella? Could you send that to me, and I'll be sure to get that to you. Okay. Yep, I'll do that after the presentation here. So those are the three main settings for Outlook. Oh, I forgot. Sorry. There's one other thing. This isn't an issue per se, but it was a question we were getting a lot of here. The default view. Some people had they set up like a custom view in Outlook, and when we installed a new one, it went back to the default view, if you will. So if you want to change views, or if you had conversations on, you will have to go in and set those back up, basically. The compact view seems to be the most common one that everyone likes to use. So if you are under the View tab and you don't like how it looks, definitely play around with these different buttons here and get it back to what you want Outlook to look like, basically. But there's multiple different view settings here, and I don't know which one you prefer. It's definitely a preference. But by default, some people didn't like the default look, so they wanted the compact or the single view, the preview, and some people like to have conversations on. So you'll definitely have to enable those if you want to have those enabled. So OneDrive is a new thing. I got a little video here that kind of goes over it really quickly. But basically, OneDrive is kind of like your P drive. It's kind of like a storage drive, but it's for you, and it leverages all those share features I was mentioning earlier. So I'm just going to play the video. Again, I don't anticipate you to absorb all this knowledge. This is just a preview of what's to come, and hopefully to help you out in the future when you're playing around with it and figuring out. So I'm going to play this video real quick, and I'm going to be quiet for a second. Hopefully you can hear it. Make sure my sound's on. From the application menu, choose OneDrive. I don't think it's paying attention. Dashboard, click on Sync. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to crank it all the way up. From the application menu, choose OneDrive. At the top of the OneDrive dashboard, click on Sync. If you don't have OneDrive installed on your PC, click the link in the pop-up. Save the file and run the executable. Once OneDrive is installed, close the pop-up and click Sync again. Your browser may ask you how to open this link. Choose OneDrive. Click Sign In.
Use the default OneDrive storage location. If the folder already exists, use the location and OneDrive will merge the folders. OneDrive will give you a basic walkthrough of how to use it. Click the blue cloud in the system tray and you should be able to see any files or folders that are syncing.
So that was basically a brief overview of how to install it and how to start syncing on your corporate laptop. Obviously, I'll try and share this. I'll share this PowerPoint with you so that you can definitely review that later.
The application.
Sorry. So OneDrive, once it's installed, it kind of looks like this. I got a screenshot here. It creates something called creates almost a folder. I guess it's kind of like a library. But it's called OneDrive La-Z-Boy Incorporated. Even though it says OneDrive La-Z-Boy Incorporated, it is your own personal drive. Like no one else has access to it. It is only accessible by you unless you share your documents with someone. Obviously, if you share your documents or your whole directory, everyone's going to see your OneDrive. You can share from this location. You can drag and drop files to back up onto the cloud. That's another big benefit of OneDrive is it's backing your data up automatically. So if your laptop dies, you still have your information. And again, as I said earlier, it leverages that autosave feature and sync features of OneDrive when you start using it this way. There's a couple cool things regarding OneDrive, some icons you might see if you choose to start syncing locally on your laptop. So in my screenshot here, I have a couple examples of all the different statuses you might see. This is just a quick screenshot of my personal OneDrive. So processing changes, so the double arrow basically means it's actively trying to upload and sync changes to that file. Online only, so if you see the little blue cloud, that basically means that file resides out on OneDrive, but it's not downloaded to your computer. That's basically a space-saving aspect of OneDrive because it's assumed that you might not want to download everything to your laptop that you have on OneDrive automatically unless you click on it. So if you click on it, then it'll download and save locally to your laptop and also be synced on OneDrive, if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. And then shared file, if you share a file with someone, a little person will appear next to it, whatever file that you shared. And then if it's locally synced and also downloaded to your laptop, it'll have a green check mark. The only bad icon you can get on OneDrive is cannot be synced, which is a big red X. In my experience, most of the time that occurs because of an interrupted internet connection. So if you're uploading a file and you disconnect from Wi-Fi, for example, it might say cannot be synced. As soon as you get internet back, though, you can click on that file and just restart the process, and then it'll finish uploading on OneDrive. Again, I went over this a little bit earlier, but all the add-ins are definitely something that you're going to need to do a reinstall on. Again, though, Cisco WebEx and Adobe Acrobat, you don't have to reinstall. They seem to just attach themselves automatically. Spreadsheet Server and Lawson Excel add-ins definitely do need reinstalled, though. So if you use either of those two add-ins, definitely get with us and we'll get that reinstalled for you. And I guess on top of that, if you have any other add-ins that we might not be aware of here that you're actively using, definitely get with us if they don't work on the new version of Office, and we'll see what we can do to help with that. And then let me just revert back to the whole company phone Intune portal stuff. So again, you'll get an email with all the instructions on how to install Intune. But basically, it walks you through on the screen. So as long as you remember to go out to the Apple Store, type in Intune, and then you just download the Intune company portal. Once you click on that and install it, you'll basically sign in with your 365 account, which is username at lazyboy.com, and then your password. And it kind of walks you through exactly what to do once you get that far. So as long as you remember to go to the App Store, download Intune, the app will walk you through automatically on what you have to do to set it up. And once you set that up, then your corporate email will start functioning just like it did prior to the migration. These are the dates I have currently for all the RDC locations. So just so you're aware, we did finish SSDC early. They were kind of the pilot location, if you will. And everything went fine, as far as I'm aware. They've been using it for about a week now, I think. And they've been good. So your actual dates, the important dates to you, so you're in the training right now, so I don't know if you can see my mouse, but right here, the 23rd and the 27th, we're sending out migration notices. So the big date for you when your actual changeover is going to occur is the week of the 30th. So what's been happening recently with a lot of our migrations is that on Monday night, we're moving the mailboxes. That's when the migration occurs. And then we're also then that night pushing the software to you. So it's very important on the 30th, please make sure you leave your computers on, you leave them at the office if you could, because at around midnight or 1 a.m., we're going to be actively hitting those machines basically and removing your office over the air, installing the new office. And then when you come in the morning on the 31st, should be upgraded. All you have to do is sign into Outlook and make those couple of changes that I went over, and should be back in business pretty quickly. Is there any other questions? That's pretty much all I have for you as my little preview thing. Obviously, using it in the real world is way different than, getting a little bit of a training session. But if you have any questions, I'm definitely available here for the next couple minutes to answer those. While you're thinking about it, let me share this document with a couple of you. So you can kind of see what the share looks like too, since I'm doing it right on the screen. Let's see, who else do I have online here? As you can see when you're sharing documents, everyone that's in our global address list just automatically appears when you're sharing. So I'm going to basically send you a copy of this document so you can reference it later if you want to. So you should receive an email now shortly with that share link. And you can feel free to reference that later if you forget how to do, say, the cash exchange mode, which is a pretty important piece. It is there with you. So if there's no other questions, then you are definitely free to go. I'm not hearing anyone or seeing any chats here, so. Again, my name is Eric Casino. I've been working here a while, so again, if you have any other questions too, you can always email me directly, and I should be able to at least find an answer for you if I don't know it off the top of my head. But other than that, that's all I have for you. So if there's no other questions, thank you very much for joining. I really appreciate it, and then have a good day.